He continues to deny Israel has enforced a policy of starvation in Gaza, although he has conceded there was an issue with the deprivation of food, blaming Hamas for that, even though the overwhelming majority of evidence and opinion says Israeli aid restrictions are responsible. Benjamin Netanyahu rarely fronts the media, and that's why his two press conferences on Sunday, one to the foreign press, the other to local media, are significant, not least because it comes just days after Israel's security cabinet signed off on his plan to take control of Gaza City by force, a major escalation in the war and one which will force the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, many of whom have been forced to move time and time again during this war. In the face of growing international condemnation of that plan and more broadly of the destruction wrought by Israeli forces over 22 months of this war, Benjamin Netanyahu had some pointed comments for countries, including Australia, critical of Israel's conduct.
When we do what any country would do faced with this genocidal terrorist organization that has performed the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust, I think we're actually applying force judiciously, and they know it. They know what they would do if right next to Melbourne or right next to Sydney you had this horrific attacks. I think you would do it, at least what we're doing, probably maybe not as efficiently and as precisely as we're doing it.
The distinction Mr. Netanyahu is glossing over there is the difference between Israel's right to self-defense after those deadly attacks by Hamas on October 7, 2023, something which many countries, including Australia, say it has a right to enforce, and what has happened since. The massive death toll, now reportedly in excess of 60,000 people, widespread destruction and devastation, and starvation taking hold, something which many critics of Israel say go well beyond self-defense. The idea behind Mr. Netanyahu's press conference was to write what he claims are lies being spread by Hamas and being swallowed by the international media and its audiences. He continues to deny Israel has enforced a policy of starvation in Gaza, although he has conceded there was an issue with the deprivation of food, blaming Hamas for that, even though the overwhelming majority of evidence and opinion says Israeli aid restrictions are responsible. Those comments came as Palestinian health authorities in Gaza said the death toll from starvation continued to rise, now at 217, including 100 children. The Prime Minister was reluctant to put a specific time frame on how quickly his military will take control of Gaza City, but insisted it was the best way to finish the war quickly, rejecting claims it will threaten the lives of the remaining hostages in Gaza, 50 Israelis still held, 20 believed to be alive. And he wouldn't specify which Arab nations would be part of a transitional government taking over Gaza under his plan. He was about to finish his press conference when I managed to get him to comment on the issue of Palestinian statehood, specifically seeing as France, the UK and Canada have all announced they will move to recognise a Palestinian state, albeit with slightly different conditions and caveats. It's not a position Australia has taken just yet, although the government says it's a matter of when, not if, the Australian government would recognise a Palestinian state. And to that point, the Prime Minister had this to say.
Most of the Jewish public is against the Palestinian state for the simple reason that they know it won't bring peace, it'll bring war. To have European countries and Australia march into that rabbit hole, just like that, fall right into it, and buy this canard is disappointing, and I think it's actually shameful. But it's not going to change our position.
It's not surprising language or rhetoric from a Prime Minister finding himself increasingly at odds with other world leaders who are struggling to accept and condone what they are seeing happening on the ground in Gaza. But in the same way that Mr. Netanyahu says he won't be swayed by the decisions of France, the UK and Canada, and perhaps Australia in the near future, it's unlikely those countries will change their minds based on his fiery defence. All that will matter here is Israel's actions on the ground. And as Mr. Netanyahu says, he believes he has to, quote, finish the job against Hamas. So that suggests that situation also won't change either.